just now from the Vidhan Soda. I couldn't bring I had to bring the secretary and the president in my vehicle. The crowd was so much. So
sir, questions are being raised whether adequate
we had arranged more than 5,000. It is a young, vibrant crowd. This is we can't use our lathi.
So DK Shivkumar says this is a young crowd, it's a volatile crowd, and so there was chaos that broke out. There will be questions about whether this was a result of mismanagement, but we're not going to jump the gun here on that. We will wait for more details on the kind of deployment and whether it was just the fact that you had unimaginable crowds gathering there outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium. As we speak, Chief Minister Sidramaiah is currently at the Bowering Hospital, which is where the injured are. We understand that there are several people who have also been injured in this particular stampede. Absolute frenzy that's broken out at the Chinnaswamy Stadium that's led to this situation. And just look at those heartbreaking images. Just moments ago, we were talking about celebrations, about the RCB, about Bengalurians enjoying this moment. And then it took such a drastic, tragic turn as 3 deaths have been reported as a result of the stampede that broke out. People pushing through barricades, trying in any way they can to enter into this stadium. And that's what led to that stampede. There was even a lathi charge that had broken out where cops realized that things were going out of hand and tried to disperse the crowds. On the left of your screens, always pictures that speak 1,000 words of how many people actually had gathered, footwear strewn all across, gates, barricades brought down. And it tells you really the kind of crowds that had gathered at the Chinnaswamy Stadium that led to this incident of a stampede. And heartbreaking really to imagine what the families are going through, enduring in this time. These are youngsters who were there to relish, soak in the victory of RCB, and things taking such a tragic turn for them. Many of them not returning back to their homes after being there for a celebration. And yet, right inside the Chinnaswamy Stadium, the show must go on mentality continues. You have that event continuing despite 3 deaths being reported. And there will be questions about whether that should actually be happening. This is, mind you, an event by Royal Challengers Bangalore. It's a private event. But having said that, should the organizers also take note of what's happened right outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium and call it off? This is not the time for celebration. It's a time of mourning. It's a time to also introspect on how such an incident actually occurred. The government right now is working towards ensuring all necessary help reaches those who were injured in this particular stampede. DK Shivkumar, while speaking to us here on India Today, says there was adequate security. 5,000 cops were deployed. So was it just poor planning? Or was it that it was an unprecedented crowd and there was nothing the government could have done to control the situation where you had excited people all coming together in such large numbers? Having said that, the BJP at this point is asking questions of the government, saying that this is sheer negligence that's led to these deaths. Unfortunate, really, and it's again put the spotlight on how we as a country are never really ready for these kind of massive celebrations, public celebrations on a street, in a locality. Every single time it takes this kind of a turn, either due to bad planning, due to mismanagement, or just sheer volume of the crowds. And we'll know perhaps in the days to come, once there's a perhaps more detailed inquiry and a detailed sequence of events that emerges as to exactly who or which factor is to blame for the images that you see on your screens. Sagar Raj is joining us with the latest updates from Chinnaswamy Stadium. I'm cutting across to his live report.
It has been a Herculean task for the police to control the crowd here, and you can see there's a frenzy crowd here, and everybody want to get inside the stadium, and most of them also suffered injuries during this point. Even my intern who was along with me, she also suffered injuries, and you can see there are a few people who are injured and sitting there, and the police are finding very difficult to control the crowd. It's a frenzy crowd. Everybody wants to get by hook or crook. You can see that people are jumping from the compound wall, and they are trying to get inside. That is the kind of emotion, that is the kind of craziness that the people have to get a glimpse of their favorite player and their favorite team. And they were waiting from early morning to morning, and you can see the slippers which has been abandoned here by the people who were entered inside, because there was a huge rush to get inside the stadium.
So that was moments after the stampede had broken out. Sagar Raj was there outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium when he'd seen that chaos break out. He had reported to us immediately that, look, things are going out of control here. There are far too many people who've gathered outside the stadium, and this was at a time when the stadium was full. It was looking at these circumstances that the planned arrival of the RCB team in an open bus was called off, because, mind you, the stampede actually broke out before the team had arrived, much before the team had arrived at the Chinnaswamy Stadium. So you can only imagine how uncontrollable and chaotic things would have been if that team had made their way from Vidhan Soudha to the Chinnaswamy Stadium atop an open bus, because clearly at this point, it was beyond the officials, beyond the security deployed there at the Chinnaswamy Stadium to control the crowd, to control the situation. Was the planning just right up to the mark? Because clearly with these kind of crowds, there should have been better communication. Most people who had gathered outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium did not know that they could not enter the stadium. They thought it's essentially based on a first come, first serve basis. So they tried to rush through, get a seat, when the reality was that it was on a ticketing system. Was there lack of awareness? Crowds clearly didn't know what was the system being used. So every time the gates opened, they tried to push through, they tried to rush into the stadium. And at these pockets, essentially, that you had chaos breaking out. And one of those situations, unfortunately, led to a stampede in which 3 people have died. Now, there are some reports that suggest that that toll might be much higher, but we're going to wait here on India Today and get you only details that are coming in from official sources, from the police who are there on ground. Over 5,000 cops were deployed at this very stretch outside the Chinnaswamy Stadium. So either they didn't anticipate that these kind of crowds would gather, or there was clear lack of communication in what really is the system. The gates would open, crowds would push through, rush in, try to enter the stadium, and then there would be this kind of an incident that would happen. A stampede broke out in one of those times when the crowd tried to push through. The cops immediately resorted to a lathi charge, so the crowd dispersed. But unfortunately, as a result of the chaos, 3 people have lost their lives. There are several others who are injured.